That ice cream in your freezer isn't what you think it is. The family-friendly brand you've been buying for years might be thickened with wood pulp instead of cream, sweetened with corn syrup instead of sugar, or whipped with air instead of butterfat. I spent weeks investigating America's ice cream brands, and what I found will make you rethink that quart carton in your cart. In the next 20 minutes, I'm exposing exactly which ice cream brands are selling you frozen chemicals. By the end, you'll know the difference between engineered dessert and actual ice cream. Let's start with the frozen chemicals. That familiar black tub with the white Breyers script, the natural vanilla claim printed right on the front. The brand your grandmother bought thinking it was wholesome, simple ice cream. Breyers looks like everything classic American ice cream should be, until you flip the carton over and read what's actually inside. Breyers was founded in Philadelphia in 1866 by William Breyer, who sold ice cream from a hand-cranked wooden bucket. For over a century, the recipe was simple: milk, cream, sugar. Then Unilever bought the brand in 1993, and the bean counters discovered something beautiful. Americans don't read ingredient labels. They can replace cream with gums, and no one will notice until it's too late. Flip over the modern Breyers carton, and you'll see the problem immediately. 11 ingredients, where real ice cream needs 4. The first few sound normal: milk, sugar, cream. Then it spirals into 4 gums you've never heard of: mono and diglycerides and carrageenan. 4 different plant-based thickeners doing the job that cream and egg yolks used to handle alone. They're engineered to trick your mouth into thinking watery milk is rich butterfat. It's culinary sleight of hand that only works if you never flip the carton over. Breyers used to be real ice cream. The older you are, the more likely you remember when it actually tasted like frozen cream. That memory is accurate. The product changed, not your taste buds. The brand isn't even legally allowed to call some of its products ice cream. It's labeled frozen dairy dessert because they don't meet the FDA's minimum standards for butterfat content. Do the melt test. Leave Breyers on the counter for an hour. It doesn't melt into cream. It deflates into foam, a weird, bubbly, separated mess that looks like soap suds mixed with milk. Real ice cream melts into liquid cream. Breyers collapses into something that shouldn't exist in nature. For families who chose Breyers thinking it's what we grew up with, you're mourning a product that no longer exists. At $4 for 48 ounces, you're paying for nostalgia wrapped around stabilizers and air. That bright blue bunny logo jumping across the freezer aisle. The impossibly soft texture that scoops like whipped mousse straight from the freezer. Blue Bunny feels fun and light and easy until you realize light means you're eating expensive air. Blue Bunny was founded in 1913 in Sioux City, Iowa, and grew into the largest privately held ice cream manufacturer in America. They perfected the art of whipping maximum air into minimum dairy, creating a product that feels premium because it's so soft, when softness actually means less ice cream per scoop. Blue Bunny uses corn syrup to build structure instead of cream, then whips it full of industrial air, a process called overrun. Ice cream manufacturers are legally allowed to double the volume of their product by injecting air. That's why it's so soft straight from the freezer. You're not scooping dense cream, you're scooping whipped foam. Weigh a pint against Haagen-Dazs. Blue Bunny is shockingly lighter because half of what you're buying is trapped air bubbles. The corn syrup creates another problem. It doesn't melt like cream. Leave Blue Bunny on the counter, and it doesn't turn into liquid. It deflates into a sticky, foamy puddle. Real ice cream melts. Blue Bunny collapses. Blue Bunny isn't evil, it's engineered dessert. At $5 for 46 ounces, they charge premium prices for a product that's half air. That farm-fresh aesthetic with the red barn on every carton. The all-natural claim in friendly script. The brand that suggests small batch quality from Pennsylvania Dutch country. Turkey Hill markets itself as wholesome dairy from a simpler time, but the ingredient panel tells a very different story. Turkey Hill Dairy started in 1931 as an actual dairy farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Kroger acquired the brand in 1985, and that's when the recipe shifted from dairy forward to stabilizer heavy. The farm imagery stayed, the ingredients changed. Pick up Turkey Hill Premium Vanilla and count the gums. Guar gum, cellulose gum, locust bean gum, carrageenan, 4 different plant-based thickeners working overtime to fake what cream does naturally. The wildest ingredient? Cellulose gum, literally derived from wood pulp and cotton fiber. It's the same stuff used to make paper smooth and prevents it from tearing. Now it's in your ice cream, preventing ice crystals and creating fake body. You're eating tree fiber engineered to feel like butterfat. The mouthfeel gives it away. Turkey Hill has a slightly elastic chew that clings to your teeth. That's the vegetable gums doing what they're designed to do: stretch and bind. Real ice cream made from cream and egg yolks melts cleanly on your tongue. Gum-based ice cream clings and coats because polysaccharides don't melt. They suspend in water. Turkey Hill spent decades building trust through farm imagery and regional pride. The barn on the carton is nostalgia marketing. The product inside is stabilizer science. At $4 for 48 ounces, you're paying for Pennsylvania imagery wrapped around the same industrial formula as everyone else. That slow churned badge plastered across every carton. The promise of rich and creamy texture with half the fat. Edy's built an empire on a brilliant lie. Air is innovation. Dreyers and Edy's are the same company. Founded in 1928 in Oakland, California. Nestlé bought them in 2002 and launched the slow churned line in 2004. Marketing it as a technological breakthrough. The breakthrough was whipping more air into less cream and charging the same price. The ingredient list for slow-churned vanilla reveals the trick. Egg yolks are listed, technically real, but look at what surrounds them. Mono and diglycerides to mimic egg lecithin, carob bean gum and guar gum to fake cream thickness, cellulose gel to create body without butterfat. The yolks are there for the label claim, but the chemistry does the actual work. It's cheaper to add 3 emulsifiers than to add more eggs. Edy's figured out you can engineer richness for pennies while charging the same price as real ice cream. The texture is disturbingly smooth because it's been homogenized into submission. Traditional ice cream has textural variation. You taste cream, eggs, slight graininess from sugar crystals. Slow churned tastes uniform because industrial emulsifiers create artificial consistency. The half the fat claim is technically true, but functionally deceptive. They reduced butterfat by replacing cream with skim milk, then added gums and air to mimic the richness cream provides. You're eating engineered mouthfeel, not dairy. At $4.50 for 48 ounces, you're paying premium prices for a diet product that tastes like compromise. Great value products find themselves on the negative side of our lists almost every day. That generic white carton with basic typography. The price? That's $2 cheaper than every other brand. Great value ice cream is the end result of every cost-cutting decision possible. Great Value is Walmart's private label, manufactured by various suppliers bidding for the lowest contract price. There's no legacy, no family story, no artisan roots. It exists purely to undercut name brands on price, while delivering the minimum product that can legally be called ice cream or frozen dairy dessert, when it doesn't meet butterfat requirements. The ingredient panel reads like Walmart asked a food scientist, "What's the absolute minimum dairy we can use and still call this ice cream?" The answer is just enough milk and cream to meet FDA requirements, then fill the gap with the cheapest possible fillers. Polysorbate 80, that's an emulsifier also used in cosmetics and laxatives, which replaces egg yolks. Annatto color makes it look creamy yellow. When the actual cream content is so low, it would look gray-white. Vitamin A palmitate is added back because processing stripped out the natural vitamins that real cream contains. This isn't ice cream that happens to be cheap. This is engineered cheapness that barely qualifies as ice cream. Cellulose gel is the smoking gun. It's plant fiber extracted from wood or cotton and used as a cheap bulking agent. You're eating tree byproducts to create fake creaminess. Food manufacturers love cellulose because it's incredibly cheap and creates mouthfeel without adding calories or fat. The texture is icy and crystalline because there's minimal butterfat to create smoothness. The flavor is flat because artificial vanilla extract replaced real vanilla beans. The melt pattern is weird and separated because the emulsifiers can't hold the system together once heat is applied. Great Value exists for one reason: price. At $2.50 for 1-quart tub, it's the cheapest frozen dessert you can buy. This is the end point of industrial food manufacturing. Minimum cost, maximum shelf stability, zero craft. It's not exactly worth the treat you are giving yourself. Notice how none of these brands are trying to taste better. They're trying to melt slower. They're engineered for consistency, shelf life, and transport. They're desserts designed by food scientists, not ice cream made by dairy farmers or confectioners. Now let's talk about the other side. Brands that decided cream and eggs still matter. Tillamook is that Pacific Northwest pride in every carton. The co-op structure that keeps farmers in control. The ingredient list is so short you can read it while standing in the freezer aisle. Tillamook is what happens when dairy farmers refuse to sell out to corporations that would optimize their recipe to death. Tillamook County Creamery Association was founded in 1909 by dairy farmers on the Oregon coast. Over a century later, it's still a co-op owned by 60 farming families. No corporate headquarters demanding quarterly profit increases. Just farmers who know their reputations are tied to quality. Flip the carton over and read what sounds like your grandmother's recipe. Cream, skim milk, sugar, pasteurized egg yolks, vanilla extract, vanilla beans. Yes, there are two gums, Terra and Guar, but you won't find corn syrup replacing sugar, cellulose gel from wood pulp, artificial vanilla, or mono and diglycerides faking what egg yolks do naturally. The gums are there for shelf stability. This still needs to survive the drive from Oregon to your store, but the foundation is what ice cream was always supposed to be. Cream so thick you can taste the pasture, egg yolks creating natural richness, and vanilla beans you can actually see. This is what happens when the people who milk the cows also own the company. The difference is immediately obvious. Tillamook is dense. Scoop it from the freezer and feel resistance. There's actual dairy creating structure, not whipped air. The flavor is milk-forward and rich, tasting like frozen cream instead of frozen sweetness. The vanilla is real. You can see vanilla bean specks throughout. Tillamook's butterfat content sits at 15 to 16% consistently because cream is their identity, not their cost problem. More cream means richer texture, slower melt, and flavor that coats your mouth. The co-op structure is why this works. When farmers own the company, they're not optimizing for Wall Street, they're optimizing for pride. For families who want real ice cream without artisan prices, this is it. At $5 for a quart, you're paying slightly more than industrial brands but getting actual butterfat instead of gum systems. Graeter's is a Cincinnati tradition passed down through 5 generations, the artisan process that limits production to 2 gallons per batch. The chocolate chunks are so massive they break cheap ice cream scoops. Graeter's makes ice cream the way America did in 1870, before efficiency replaced craft. Louis Graeter and his wife Regina opened their first ice cream parlor in Cincinnati in 1870. Their great-great-grandchildren still run the company using the same French pot process. Small batches frozen in spinning metal cylinders surrounded by saltwater brine. It's slower, more labor-intensive, and impossible to scale to industrial volumes. Take their black raspberry chocolate chip. The ingredients read like what you'd use if you made ice cream at home. Cream, sugar, black raspberries, egg yolks, milk, chocolate chips. There's a stabilizer blend listed at the end, but it's barely doing any work because the egg yolks and high butterfat handle structure naturally. The chocolate chunks? They're not mixed in, they're created during production. Liquid chocolate from 10-pound slabs gets poured directly into the spinning French pot and instantly freezes into irregular shards. That's why they range from pea-sized to fist-sized, and why they can break cheap scoops in half. The texture is unlike anything industrial manufacturing can create. Graeter's is incredibly dense, almost chewy, because the French pot process incorporates less air. Most commercial ice cream has 50 to 100% overrun. Graeter's sits closer to 25% because the small batches can't incorporate industrial air volumes. Less air means more actual ice cream per scoop. The chocolate chunks are the tell. They're not uniform chips. They're irregular shards ranging from pea-sized to fist-sized, because real liquid chocolate is poured into the spinning pot and instantly freezes. The chunks break ice cream scoops because they're solid chocolate, not chocolate-flavored coating. Graeter's proves American craft ice cream can compete with Italian artisan brands. At $8 for a pint, it's expensive, but you're paying for a production method that physically can't scale. Haagen-Dazs. That Scandinavian-sounding name is completely made up, but their premium ice cream is not, defining luxury frozen treats in America for a generation. The 5-ingredient formula that's been the same since 1960, Haagen-Dazs built an empire by doing less, not more. Ruben and Rose Mattis launched Haagen-Dazs in the Bronx in 1960 with a radical strategy: charge double the price and use better ingredients. The Scandinavian name was invented to sound European and premium. It means nothing in any language. The gamble worked. Americans associated foreign-sounding names with quality and paid accordingly. 5 ingredients. That's it. Cream, skim milk, sugar, egg yolks, vanilla extract. The formula hasn't changed since 1960 because Ruben Mattis understood something corporate food scientists refuse to accept. When you start with quality, you don't need chemistry. No attempt to extend shelf life with gums. No corn syrup cutting costs. No emulsifiers faking what eggs do naturally. Just the same 5 ingredients that were good enough 66 years ago. The texture is what 5 ingredients create: dense, smooth, and slow melting. Haagen-Dazs resists scooping straight from the freezer because high butterfat content, around 16%, freezes hard. Let it temper for 5 minutes and it becomes perfectly creamy. The melt is clean. It dissolves into liquid cream, not foam or separation. That's egg yolks emulsifying fat naturally instead of mono and diglycerides doing it chemically. The vanilla is real. You taste actual vanilla bean complexity, floral, slightly woody, with caramel notes, not the one-dimensional sweetness of artificial vanilla. The difference is obvious in a side-by-side taste test. Breyers tastes like vanilla flavor. Haagen-Dazs tastes like vanilla beans steeped in cream. Haagen-Dazs is now owned by General Mills, but the formula stayed intact because changing it would destroy the premium positioning that justifies the price. For anyone who wants to know what ice cream should taste like, this is the benchmark. At $5 for 14 ounces, you're eating cream and eggs instead of gums and air. That Instagram-perfect aesthetic in every pint, the grass-grazed milk and fair trade vanilla claims, the flavors that read like a chef's tasting menu: brown butter, almond brittle, brambleberry crisp, darkest chocolate. Jeni's is the ice cream brand that divides people. Some call it the best in America, others call it overpriced and overrated. Jeni Britton Bauer opened her first ice cream shop in Columbus, Ohio, in 2002 with a mission to rethink ice cream completely. She uses grass-grazed milk, skips eggs entirely, and builds body with tapioca syrup and cream cheese instead of yolks. It's unorthodox, and the texture polarizes people. Pick up sweet cream biscuits and peach jam, and you'll see something unusual: no egg yolks. Jeni ditched the most traditional ice cream ingredient and built her own system. High butterfat cream for richness, tapioca syrup for binding, cream cheese in some flavors for tang and body. It's unorthodox, almost rebellious. Traditional ice cream makers use yolks because that's how it's always been done. Jeni said why and invented her own structure. That's either brilliant innovation or unnecessary reinvention, depending on whether you love or hate the texture. The texture is dense and almost spackle-like. It coats your mouth aggressively and melts slowly. Some people love the intense mouthfeel, others find it cloying and heavy. Reddit threads split down the middle. Jeni's is overrated and gummy versus best ice cream I've ever had. There's no middle ground. The flavors are undeniably creative. Jeni's treats ice cream like a chef treats a dish, building layers, balancing sweet and savory, incorporating unexpected ingredients. The quality of mix-ins is high. Real buttermilk biscuits, actual fruit preserves, fair trade chocolate. At $12 per pint, it's the most expensive on this list, and you're paying for grass-grazed milk, creative R&D, and brand positioning. We can't tell you the name because every town has its own. That creamery 3 miles from your house with the chalkboard menu and handwritten flavors. The family recipe that changes with the seasons. The small batch you buy on Saturday that's gone by Sunday. These one-off mom and pop shops make the best ice cream in America. You just have to find yours. Small batch creameries share the same philosophy. Milk from local dairies, minimal ingredients, short shelf life, seasonal flavors that change when fruit availability changes. The ingredient list is predictable. Cream, milk, sugar, egg yolks, flavor. That's it. No gums when you're churning cream that was in a cow 3 days ago. The texture varies batch to batch because conditions vary. Summer cream is different from winter cream. That inconsistency would terrify corporate QA departments, but it's the point. The melt happens fast. Leave it on the counter for 20 minutes and it's soup. No stabilizers means no melt resistance. For anyone who thinks all ice cream tastes the same, find your local creamery and try a scoop. If your ice cream never melts, it wasn't built from cream. If it tastes identical every time, chemistry replaced craft. The difference between frozen chemicals and real ice cream is the gap between Breyers foam collapse and Haagen-Dazs cream melt. Hit subscribe. Drop a comment about which brand is in your freezer right now. Until next time, read your ingredient labels. If it lists more than 7 ingredients, someone's trying to fake something that dairy and eggs do naturally.